All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another case study. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me turn off my phone so that way there's no any distractions coming in. But I'm here again. I'm proud to bring on one of our members, Warren Clark, who's been with us for a few months, to really just talk about the success that he's having. First, I want to set the tone and let you guys understand that this is a unique story, a unique case study. One, because you'll see that Warren has a accent because Warren is in and he's from Australia. Okay, so there has been people asking, can you do this virtually? And Warren is living proof. He is flipping properties here in the United States, never even been to the U.S. and doing business all from Australia. So Warren, I appreciate you taking time out your day. I know it's nighttime right now, but thank you for coming on the call.
Yeah, no problems, Chris. It's nice to see you. And obviously, the first time we've done a video call. So yeah, appreciate you asking me to do this interview. And I want to give you want to thank you also with your course and your mentorship over the journey. Yeah, it was actually September the 10th, 2019 when I joined up. So yeah, I wanted to thank you as well. The course I've come to realize is probably one of the cheapest courses out there as well in the marketplace. I didn't shop around at the time. I did the course, gone through it, finding out that I'm on a little bit different level as some people who have spent 5 or 10K on courses. So that's a credit to you for keeping the course at a cheap and, you know, at an affordable price as well for people. So yeah, I want to give you thanks for that as well. So yeah.
So Warren, let's talk about when you right before you joined the program, because I know we talked over like email and stuff, but um, when you first started, did you have any real estate experience before?
I had invested in property in Australia.
Okay.
I had friends that were looking, or I had friends that were buying in the US as buy and hold rentals because the actual returns are higher. So to give you an idea, in Australia, you buy a property, you rent it out, you have a mortgage on that property, and you may net 1 or 2% return. In
Wow.
the US, certain markets in Michigan, Ohio, you can actually net probably 10, 12,
Right.
14%. And the actual buy-in price was a lot less. Where in Australia, you got to buy at 5 or 600K. In the US, you could buy properties for 40, 50, 60K.
Right.
So that attracted me. I had friends that were buying in the US. So July last year, I was talking to some people. I met a guy that had 86 stores in Detroit. He was based in Sydney, Australia. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Then I started listening to podcasts. I wanted to know more. So I jumped onto the App Store and downloaded USA Real Estate Podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I came across, real estate disruptors and bigger pockets and all these podcasts.
Right.
Started learning, hearing about wholesaling and all these different terms, and I'm like, what's this? Buying properties at a discount and wholesaling. I had no idea what it was. I To this date, I think I consumed about 600 hours of podcasts.
Wow.
So what I did, I switched from listening to music in the car to podcasts.
Okay.
Consumed it all. Then around August, September, I started hearing about virtual wholesaling. And I thought this is pretty interesting. If people can virtual wholesale in the US, I sort of question, can I do it from outside the US?
Mm-hmm.
What I did, I actually Googled virtual wholesale. I put virtual wholesale into YouTube. I found around about 8, 9 people that had courses. I emailed eight people,
Okay.
all had courses. 2 people replied, 6 didn't reply. And the question was, I'm interested in the course. I want to know, can I virtual wholesale outside of the US? I'm in Australia. One person replied, maybe, not sure. Thanks for your email. Regards. Then your VA, I assume, I think it was from memory, might have been Josephine.
Yeah.
Her reply was like, yeah, sure, I can't see why not. Can we do a call to answer your questions? I'm like, wow, what service? I said, no problem. We'll do a call. She goes, can we call now? I'm like, oh, can we wait like half an hour? We did like a Skype call, and then I was talking to her, and she's like, what questions do you have? I thought it might be easier as a call as opposed to an email. And I was blown away. I'm like, wow, if this is a service you're providing, you know, before I do the course, like this is a good sign for me. So yeah, I think I signed, it was later that day. She answered all my questions. I sat on it for a few hours. I thought, yeah, well, that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger. So yeah, I joined, yeah.
Perfect.
So it was only July last year I learned more, learned about US real estate. September 10th, I'm just looking at my notes here. I did the course, followed the course, listened to it, watched the videos twice, and then I obviously did some coaching calls.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So fast forward, you decided, I remember we talked on Skype, you decided to go into Detroit market. And I'm glad that we're talking about this too, because some people are always trying to figure out in the virtual market, what would be a good market to go into. You decided on Detroit. So tell me a little bit about how the process was of getting everything virtually, because right, you're in Australia, you're not physically in the US. How did that process look as far as you getting into the market in Detroit and getting some deals done?
For me, it was the mindset.
Okay.
Was one key component. Okay, I realized after speaking to Josephine, looking at the course material, that it can be done outside with some challenges. Phone numbers, LLC, different things I had to work out. What I had done the course twice, listened to podcasts, watched YouTube. It was a lot of noise, a lot of information out there. Again, a credit to you and your course. It was very simple in the way it was sort of laid out, in a sense that it wasn't too sort of noisy. It was very sort of straightforward on what to do. What I had to do, and I had done it prior to doing the coaching call with you. The coaching call was 26th of September. So between the 10th and the 26th, I worked out in my mind, and I actually put on paper, which I think is very good for people to do. When I actually broke it down, there's only like 8, 9, maybe 10 steps to this. Getting a list, market, talk to sellers, do the comps, getting it under contract. You got it under contract. How you going to market that? Facebook, is it doing JV? Right. Talking to end sellers and closing it, et cetera, doing the walkthrough and closing.
Right. So
when you actually break it down, I looked at that, I thought, man, it's only 8 or 9 steps, 10 steps. So I looked at all that. Okay, how can I do it from here? First step, get a list. How do I get a list? Okay, learn on your videos, get from PropStream or Fiverr, or find a service provider. Okay, marketing method. Is it cold call? Is it texting? Is it mailers? Is it bandit signs? Okay, I know it. And from following your course, it was sort of more predominant, text messaging. And that's what I liked about it. Or you can do cold calling. But I thought, for me, I'll do texting. You're very big on VAs. I got a VA straight away. I asked you. So I did that. So what I did first, I mapped it out. I had all the pieces roughly there, but not all clicked in together. Did the coaching call on the 26th of September. And I'm like, what do I do here? And I had all the pieces there. Right. And it's like, what happens if someone calls the number that I'm texting from? I'm not in the US. I don't have a US number. You're like, well, I have an answering service I use. Answer first. Reroute the number to them. I'm like, wow, that's it. Okay, that's a missing piece. So all I had to do was work out how I was able to be able to manage all this. So to answer your question about being overseas, the challenges were there. But again, looking at that 8, 9, 10 step process, I was able to delegate a lot of those roles. Yeah. So areas like Detroit, for example, I only got into Detroit because I knew people had bought there as an investment. I thought maybe I can use these guys as boots on the ground or leverage off their contacts. And I remember I was looking at some comps in Detroit, and I actually got you to help me. And I'm looking at the comps, and they're just all over the place. And it was a property, half mile. There was properties, 10K, and there was properties like 200K. And it's like, this is just crazy. Like, it wasn't like, there was 15 comps and I was just everywhere. But then I came to realize, like, a market like Detroit was a block by block type proposition in comps. I didn't realize that at the time. So I had someone that was interested in selling. And he's like, I want like 60K. And I went back. I said, look, my number's around 20K. He goes, are you crazy? He goes, and it was a place called Boston Edison. And I found out it was actually a good, 60K was actually cheap.
That's a good area. My dad owned a property over in Boston Edison.
Yeah. So when I did the comps, I've come to realize, well, he's on one side of the main road of a highway or a main road. On the other side are the comps that I was looking at. So it was a learning curve for me. So yeah, that's how, obviously I had challenges doing it virtually over here, which I overcame. But it all came back to that process, working out what I can do, what I can't do. I either delegated to my VA because of the time difference. I didn't want to be up in the middle of the night, or using an answering service, doing text messages as opposed to cold calling. So just sort of mapping it out and putting myself in a position to manage all that.
Definitely. Well, one thing I like about it is that, like you said, is that it was the mindset thing you had to really get over. And once you understood through the course, you understood the steps, and you just started going and applying and doing every single step. And then you also got, somebody on the ground that you can start doing JV deals with, and just boots on the ground to. So fast forward.
One other thing, Chris, before we go further, which I found very important for me, was I worked it all out. Like I ended up mapping it out. I was trying to work out, I was thinking, if I get a deal, how am I going to move this deal?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then it dawned on me. I'm like, why am I worried about moving a deal? I haven't even got a list yet. I haven't even done a text campaign.
Right.
So what I did, what actually happened, I was on LinkedIn and I saw a quote. If you're going to walk up a flight of 1,000 stairs, you glance at the top, then you look at the first and second step, and you start walking up. It was like a quote about life. And that's when it hit me. It's like, okay, there's 10 steps here. I've broken down into 10 steps.
Yeah.
I've glanced at what can happen. Okay, that's good. That's the goal. I'm happy with that goal. But let's rewind now. Let's look at the first and second step. First step, get a list, work out. I've already worked out how I'm going to market. I'm going to text. Where do I get the list from? Let's just focus on that. And I remember listening to one of your podcasts. I can't recall who it was, but the guy was saying he got a deal under contract, had no idea what to do next. And then he had to research and go online how to work out how to move it. Yeah. That's the mentality I had to have.
Yeah.
Not get overwhelmed about and stress myself out about closing a deal. I'm worried about which title company do I work with. And I hadn't even done a text campaign. So for me, that was a big moment for me in changing my mindset. And then from there, I started to grow. So yeah.
I love that.
I wanted to throw that in.
No, that's good, because you're right. Like, we get overwhelmed and we start putting hurdles ahead of us, and that's what usually leads us to inactivity, because we're like, well, we don't have the buyer. We don't have a title company yet. But like you said, if you just follow the steps first, then get to that bridge, and then we'll work on that and cross that. But let's not create bridges and hurdles before we even start the race.
That's right. That's exactly. Yes, that's it. Yes.
So perfect. Okay. So fast forward, where are you at now? How many deals have you closed? How many JV deals have you closed? What is the success that you've had since you got started?
All my deals have been JV deals. I haven't closed any. What actually happened, I was doing the steps. I created that flow chart process. I look at it as like, and I refer this to an assembly line or a production line. Okay. Leads go in, or numbers go in one end, deals at the other, with those 8 or 10 steps. For me, JVing was definitely the way for me. The boots on the ground JVing, people that had buyers or can communicate with my buyers. What actually happened, I came across a video or a podcast, a guy named Jamil Danji Keegley. Okay. And his company, he's doing 1,000 deals a year. He's a disposition company. Not sure if you've followed him at all, but Keegley does 1,000 deals a year. So just focuses on disposition. Mm-hmm. He obviously does other stuff as well, but it was a podcast about his disposition company and how he started. I listened to that and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Like, you can just do one aspect of this and still make money. Right. You don't need to get the deal under contract and close it yourself to 100% to make 100% of the money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy making 50%, 30%, 40% if it means me scaling and doing more of it.
Right.
So again, it was another moment where I thought there's nothing wrong, like just doing one part. So then, so I've just done JVing all this time.
That's good.
I had I had a person that he had friends that were buying in Toledo, and then I said, look, I'm getting leads for Toledo. Is that something we could sort of do something with? And that's how it sort of started. I did a couple of campaigns, did some JV deals with those guys because I knew they were already buying. Him and his contacts were already buying 8 to 10 deals a month at that stage. It was about 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
So it was sort of a bit of a reverse wholesale. So I had those guys there. Then I got into the Detroit market doing campaigns there. So to date, I've done 6 JV deals, fairly small spreads. The average spread, there was 2 deals at 4K and 2 deals at 2K. That's 50% of the fee.
Okay.
And 4 deals at 3K.
Okay.
Okay, so 6 deals. I had a investor also that I was talking to that was a buy and hold guy. He and his friend were buying properties in Toledo. They said they were paying wholesalers 5 or 6K, 10K on deals. And I just sort of said, well, I'm getting leads for that area. Maybe I can just sell you leads. Like I was just joking, not joking, but this is sort of threw it out there.
Okay.
He came back. He said, what would I charge for a lead? And I had no idea. I said, look, $100 a lead. You know, I could do a campaign. There might be 20, 30 leads. He said, no problem. Generate the leads. We'll buy them off you at $100 a lead. So that was another angle, another way to skin a cat, I suppose. So, so I generated 32 leads. You know, it was 3,200. Campaign cost me the list, texting, JV, my VA, you know, around $800. So that was another way to make money. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of different angles here to make money. So to answer your question, I've done 6 JV deals. I've done, I sold 32 leads to someone, and I've actually bought and closed on 2 properties.
Nice.
So what I actually did, my thinking at the time was to close them and then relist them on their MLS to get a higher return profit.
Right.
One of those properties I've actually sold on a land contract owner financing. So they both came from text messaging.
Nice.
One of those deals came from follow-up. So from text message, the person didn't reply. The first message went out in November. The guy didn't reply. I sent another message to him, the same message in December, didn't reply. Same message to him, Jan, he replied. And then I bought the property for, was 14K originally, gave him the contract. I had my JV partner, my realtor guy in Detroit. I paid him $1,000 facilitation fee, walked through the property. And it sort of sounded good to the buyer. You know, I'll get my realtor to sign. So I got him to sign the contract, prepared the contracts. The seller came back and said, look, I've got investors willing to offer me 16. What he's done was shop my contract to other investors. Then I said to him, look, this is the first and last time I'm going to do this with you. I'm willing to go to 16. I don't like my signed contract being shopped around. He said, yeah, I've got others. I've got to decide who I'm going to go with. I said, look, I can make an agreement with you that any deal that because he bought the property from Land Bank, bought it for $1,000, rehabbed it and sold it. So long story short, I got that property with the facilitation fee closing cost for $19,050. I've sold that on owner finance terms at $35,000 with $6,500 down. So that came from a text message. That came from a third text message. First 2 were no reply. So that was very big for me, a big moment thinking, wow, this is from a follow-up message where the original Toledo messages, I messaged once and never replied again. So I left a lot of potential deals on the table.
Gotcha. It was a learning lesson, like you said. All right, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I want to say congratulations for all your success. I'm proud of you, you know, taking action and also being a leader inside our group, you know, in the Virtual Flipping Riches course and our Facebook group as well, too. But what I want to say is, or what I want to ask, for anybody that's watching this video right now and they're on the fence of should they get started, should they join the course, what advice would you give them?
I think, as I said earlier about the process, there's probably a lot of people, how I did it, how I looked at it. It's not taking me, I'm probably spending 45 minutes to an hour a day on this now, the way I've set it all up. Even replying to text messages, I reply to them around, I'll send out a campaign during the day, and I realize I don't need to be sitting there replying instantly to a message, because there's times where I send out a message, I won't get a reply for a day or a week or 3 hours later. So there's a certain way I structure it where I don't need to be on the computer all day. So for someone that's working a full-time job, someone that's got a family, someone that's overseas, I'm in Australia, it's, we're 16 hours or 18 hours different. So if it's 9 a.m. there, it's 11 p.m. here. If it's 5 p.m. there, it's 7 a.m. here. So it's probably a little bit more difficult as a time zone compared to some other countries. So to answer your question, it's not a very hard business to do. And again, for someone that's working full time, it might be text messaging, during the day and doing the calls on their lunch break or after work.
Right.
So the way you've laid it out and the process, it's not a very difficult business for someone. So yeah, it's I would highly recommend it to anyone. And what I actually when I hear people like in general in Facebook groups, who has a good course or who does this, and people jump in, they go to YouTube, go here, go there, free. YouTube University is free. The problem is you need that sort of guidance. You need that to shorten that, learning curve. Right. And I say this to a lot of people, from the 10th of September to the 18th of October, I did the course. I did 2 coaching calls. I went from 0 to 5 in like a month and a half, or even a month, a little over a month. So for the little money that I paid for the course, for the coaching calls, I was able to really accelerate that. So yeah, long story, long answer to your question, but I would highly recommend this to anyone, not only just people, foreigners or people offshore, but people who are working their jobs. And I think for someone that's working full time, parents, family, mothers with children at home, to be able to do texting, do this, make calls if they have to, they could JV with people. I think this is a perfect model for them.
Perfect. All right. Well, definitely, Warren, I appreciate you, again, being a leader in the group, and also all the success that you've had all the way from Australia. I mean, listen, this is amazing. I don't want you to not like what you've done. Like you said, it's not hard, but the simple fact that we get a lot of people from overseas that they want to know, can I do this? I'm in Africa, or I'm in Europe, I'm in Canada, and your time difference is so different. Yeah, so for you to do this all the way from Australia in Detroit, Michigan, is just wonderful and powerful. And so I definitely want to say, congratulations to all your success. I'm sure we'll have you back on one of these calls again soon. And, wish you much more success, over the next few months of 2020, going into 2021 as well.
No worries, Chris. Thanks very much. And and just to follow up on what you are saying about the course, COVID time, people are complaining it's hard out there, and obviously it is a hard time. We're doing deals, as a lot of people are doing deals. So if someone is sitting on the fence, if we can do deals now, imagine what 2021 will be. And now is probably a good time to it takes time, to learn and get into that routine. So now is definitely a good time as well. I think if people jump in now, come 2021, it's just going to be crazy, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Big rebound.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Chris.
Appreciate
it. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
No worries.